Edward, Donald.
Oh, the very last one. The very last one.
Attendance, absenteeism, and truancy.
So that's right there.
In the revision, it says that the principal will send the student's parents a letter which includes the following. And I was thinking to ensure that the parents did actually receive the letter, it should be registered.
All right, hold on. I haven't even found the policy yet.
Stacy, this came directly from.
Yeah, so there is no legal requirement to send it registered mail, and we just send them home. Typically, when a student has been truant or absent for extensive, I mean, there's been lots of contact with the parents, usually we know why. I mean, we could send it registered, it's just a whole nother step to add that isn't necessary. It's just informing them of how many days they've been out. Typically, I mean, we have a process that after so many days, they meet with the parents, they talk to them.
Okay, I didn't pick that up in the prior description.
Yeah, so this policy was one that used to have, that said the superintendent will develop additional information, and so we actually just then went and developed the information and put it right in the policy. There were a couple of policies that had that on there that we went back and outlined what we needed to.
You already know, or the parents already know that it is
Yeah.
an issue, then this is more formality.
Yeah, it's very rare that they get a letter without having had some conversation.
I was, concerned that one of the student involved could intercept the letter.
Yeah,
Usually there's a phone call.
they can always
home.
do that, but.
Yeah, but usually there's some phone call or email
Yeah,
that
there's
says,
usually
hey,
contact.
you know, I mean, isn't there a phone, I don't know, isn't there a phone call when a student's absent unexcused? Yeah, so each time that they're absent, there's a, yeah.
That was,
Okay, any others?
Do you want that on the consent agenda?
Yes, I think. Sue, you all set?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. All right, if there's no objection, those go on the consent agenda. Okay, next we have review and plan for deliberative session scheduled for Saturday, January 31st, 2015. Stacy and I have been working on some preliminary language for the explanation of the warrant articles, so there isn't a crush like there was last year. You know, when we do the mailing, just it's not really on the agenda, so I thought this was a good time to say that. Okay, do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, so, a couple of things, we'll set up for the meeting will be the exact same setup that we had for the budget hearing, just so you know. I need to know, is somebody doing a presentation, do you want me to do a presentation, kind of like I did with we could probably almost use the same budget committee presentation.
I was gonna ask if you use their
I
presentation.
did it, so yes, you can use it.
Yes, okay. And then, last year what we did was we had a different board member speak to each of the warrant articles.
Correct.
And it sounds like we're probably going to have enough support for even the petition warrant article that somebody from the board can stand and discuss it, if nothing else. So are you guys good with that? With an individual for each? Okay, so now, do you wanna jump up and volunteer for yours, or?
First, I think we have to resolve whether or not we're gonna need to staff up for the gymnasium or not. You said with tongue in cheek.
Staff up for the gymnasium?
Just in case the 5 people that attended.
At the other night, yeah, I
Given the
know.
attendance of 2 people from the public at the budget hearing.
Well, it's funny, I talked to my brother about that, and he said he and the other select people, yeah, they talked about it, they said, yeah, it's too cold. So, I mean, it was cold, and you know, because he asked how it went, and I said, tame, the most tame I have ever seen, you know, so, that was surprising. We were out in less than an hour.
I like to say it's non-controversial, that's.
Yeah, I know, although, I was like, so I think, yeah, that might be great. So, yes,
Can more than one person talk for an article, or is that not recommended?
they could as long as they, I mean, maybe you wanna talk about what you're gonna say ahead of time, so you don't just stand and say the exact same thing. But, last year I talked on the teacher's contract, so I did put together some slides, which Stacy then incorporated in our overall slide. You know, our overall PowerPoint, so, is there anybody volunteering for any of these?
Because you're working with the public notification of the contract. Seems like you're gonna be the
Right,
best
well,
prepared.
I'd be okay with talking about the contract again, but then which of you will speak about the Hill tuition agreement? Because it can only be one of three of us, well, it should only be one of the three of us.
That doesn't have to be true.
Doesn't have to be, but it should be somebody who is involved in it.
Knowledgeable.
No?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, so Ben will do Hill, and I'll do the teacher contract.
So I don't have a slide on Hill, but I will add at least the warrant article there.
Mm-hmm.
I can send out the presentation to everybody so you can look at it
Well,
and
we-
get it to
We might be able to come up with something tomorrow night too.
Yeah,
for
perfect,
that.
we can do
Yeah.
that.
So that Ben isn't just going,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. How about expendable trust fund?
I'll take it.
Okay, Jeff? And,
Wouldn't you be better for the football?
well, I was gonna say, I think Vincent Ball might like the football.
I think
Do you wanna-
Vincent Paul would be the best one for the football.
Because he's on the Friends,
Yeah.
unless I get the committees confused. Is that what you're on, the
Yeah.
Friends and you're
Yeah,
on
no,
football? Okay, do you want to talk about?
I'm okay with it.
Yep. Okay, and the operating budget,
Just FYI, I also plan to speak on the Hill.
okay, it's a majority decision of the board, so are you,
I understand.
okay. Operating budget, darn. You want to talk about the operating budget?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Everyone all set with that? Okay, all right.
So who wants to work on the mailer? So I mean, I can start, I brought it with me, what we did last year, and I've kind of started working on, like Ruby said, the descriptions. Where did I put it?
Yeah, we actually did quite a bit of,
Yeah, so there was like, it was like, 2 pages that had the warrant articles on it, which will be a little shorter because we don't have quite as many. And then there was, the committee put together just like a introduction to it, and then we had some graphics. We can certainly work on most of this, but we have it slated to go to the printers on Friday.
this
To be-
Friday?
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, because we have to get it to the printers, they need a week to print it, mail it, and get it out if we want it the week before deliberative session.
So what happens if there is another petition article?
Then we have to scramble to have it, you'll have to have another meeting, if there's money involved, you have to have another meeting, budget committee has to have another meeting, and we need to schedule a budget hearing.
Oh, before Friday?
Probably within a week. It is a tight time frame. Yes, it is absolutely a tight time frame. This then, I mean, obviously this is gonna have to be held off, we're not gonna be able to get it to the printers on Friday, because you'll want to wait till after all of that to happen, you know, you'll need to wait till that happens.
Mhm.
Beforehand, but we can prepare this and get it ready, so it might be out 4 days instead of a week before. But yeah, if there's a petition warrant article that still comes in, it will be some fancy footwork to schedule a bunch of meetings.
I can't add another meeting this week, but I can do what we were doing, which is back and forth online. You don't have what we've come up with yet, do you?
I don't have it with me.
No, okay.
I can certainly email it out.
Yeah.
I am totally booked like the next 2 days, so I'm not gonna have a lot of time to work on it. But I can plug it in between, but just have a bunch of meetings scheduled.
Last year, Jeff and I were able to work on that together. Schedule conflicts prevented 3 of us from getting
Do you guys want it again?
together. Well,
There's no way I can do it this week.
We really have made a big start, just so that there's something to look at. We didn't have stuff for the contract, I think.
Right, so, I mean, I've got pretty much, other than Hill, like the descriptions, pretty much done, like the kind of further explanation. Some of the graphs and charts we can just update, like, so there's
But
there's a budget chart which we can just add, we have all those numbers now, we can add those in. Some of this is on, so really, what is it that the board wants on this?
I think
know.
it should be like last year. I think, I know I'm laying this on you, but I think that you should be doing like final approval of this, because weren't there some errors with numbers last year? So, I'd like you to see it since you've done it now 2 years in a row. Approving it for.
Yeah, I mean, it's the board's mailer, and while I don't want to burden the superintendent with it, it should have a board flavor to it. And this pressure thing is, it's just a problem because of timing.
Yeah. I mean, I will give it to Sue what I have done tomorrow to see if she can put it, I mean, she's the expert at putting all this in there.
The good news is Sue has always been able to make the format work.
Yeah. I mean, I can update like the budget thing and send it to you. I mean, some of this is like the information on deliberative session is just standard. So there's really this kind of like the newfound area vote, like the information about it that you might want to update. And then kind of what's over here, just letting us know if you want to just update those numbers, do you want to change it up, do you want to add something different?
Well, there's always just the proofreading to make sure that 2014 has been
Yeah.
replaced everywhere, you know?
Yep.
And
I mean, I can get involved if we can email it back and forth, but I can't
come in.
come in. I mean, I've got some time on Wednesday
So-
where I'm at my desk.
Maybe the three of us online, me, you,
Give it a
Jeff.
shot, yeah. That chart was only necessary last year, wasn't it? Did we want to update the one on the right?
I think we ought to find something else for that spot.
Yeah, that's a lot of real
Oh,
estate.
yeah, right.
If
Right.
people have ideas, just let me know and we can
The other-
create whatever.
The other thing that's important is the explanation of the warrants.
Mhm. That's what Stacy and I
Yeah,
did,
Oh,
yeah.
you've already.
Yeah, we haven't done them all, we just started on some that were gonna be,
Yeah.
you know, probably not controversial descriptions.
Last year, we had done them earlier, and they were done, so we had them in the budget hearing packet. So I started working on them, and then I was like, oh, we don't have all these done yet and finalized, so I took them out of the budget hearing packet and figured we'll just use them on here.
Mike,
Okay.
do you have a typed explanation for the default budget, how that's figured?
I've given you several handouts
There's a
on the
RSA.
default budget that had the whole methodology on it.
Right, do you,
Start to
as I
finish.
recall, do you have the, like, the wording blurb that could,
Well, the RSA
Sure.
itself.
The
is
RSA, if you look on the warrant article, the
Yeah.
RSA says what it is, it's the,
It's pretty simple.
Because our space is limited, so it has to.
Right, I also, just to get people to understand it, it was in the handout for the budget hearing too,
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
so it explains in detail all that.
Okay. All right, so we'll work online this week, so you'll send it to us tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will try.
okay,
We have to
okay.
pay attention to those.
And if you can send us not just the language, but the actual document, just so that we can,
Yeah, I'll have to put it in as if
Yeah.
it was in this, so we
Right,
can work off
okay,
of the
yeah,
framework of
okay.
that.
okay, big star there.
might want to give some space to recognizing Paul in there?
In this,
Yeah, small space for that.
What was that?
He-
Recognizing what?
Paul?
Oh, Paul Maurice.
I don't know, because we've got like people who are retiring and we don't put them in there,
Yeah,
That's a warrant device.
you know?
yeah, I just
Yeah.
trying to think of things that would fit in there and
I mean, it's a
might
nice
be of
idea, it's just,
community interest.
it would be one of those, well, you know, why did no senior ever get recognized for this and all of a sudden this year one is, you know, just one of those things where people go, and no one's voting on it. you know, so. Any other thoughts or, I'm welcome. Okay, then, is there anything else? We've got a PowerPoint, we have speakers for each article, we're gonna work on the descriptions.
That's what I had on my list.
Okay, I see no bad weather in the forecast.
They never. We're done for the rest of the
I
winter.
mean, we might be freezing, but, you know.
The almanac says dry.
Now, to that extent, that's something that we will need to change on the mailer this year. It's Saturday to Saturday, but no.
Yeah,
you know, we'll
Yeah,
have to
we'll change all the
emphasize it's
ratings.
not.
right. Okay, that's on back. Proposed calendar for 15-16.
So I have a proposed calendar. Let's use this direction. I got union input just before this meeting, so that's why it was not in the packet. I was hoping to get that beforehand in case there were any changes.
They have to vote on it, because I had asked Stacy to email it to us all, but they have to vote on it before we can see
Yeah,
it.
part of our contract says that 30 days before the board sees it, they will get it, so to provide its input, so. I will go through it. So on this calendar, we are proposing having teacher workshop days on August 31st and September 1st, with students starting on Wednesday, September 2nd. It is before Labor Day, but Labor Day is late this year, so again, you run into, you could bump it out 3 days, but then you get into the end of the year. So having that start. So then we would have September 7th off for Labor Day. We are scheduling an early release day on September 23rd, and the reason for that would be as part of our state waiver, we're developing school-wide goals for the year for that that's part of the teacher evaluation process. Some districts are doing them individual teachers. We have chosen to do them as a school-wide goal for all teachers to work on the same goal. And so that will be an opportunity in September for teachers to review data for their school and develop goals. September 23rd, October 9th.
Should say 9th, it says 10th.
It says 10th, yeah.
Oh,
That's why I was all confused. Is a teacher workshop day that's traditionally the NEA convention. And if the teacher's contract passed, that will become a teacher workshop day for us. Then the 12th is Columbus Day. In November, we would look to have parent-teacher conferences. And actually, this was a recommendation. I sent out a survey to teachers about parent-teacher conferences and their thoughts on doing them before the holidays, were there other suggestions, kind of giving a bunch of options. Several teachers came up with this as an option, and I thought it was, seemed to be a good one. It does break up that week a little bit, but I don't think as significantly. So we would have parent-teacher conferences on the night of the 9th and the morning of the 10th.
I have only one question about that. So what do we have to have as a minimum attendance to count the day as a school day?
Nothing, there is no minimum.
Oh, okay,
attendance.
because we won't get attendance on the 9th.
Right, so, well, I think you would.
We'll get some, but we'll have a lot of kids out.
So, I will note that teachers, I kind of asked them, did you have the same number, less or more? Was it a positive thing having it before vacation? And for the most part, teachers said they had less attendance. Of course, the weather probably played a little into it. It was kind of a crummy day on that day as well, so there's lots of things, but this was actually a suggestion of the teachers, so we looked to put that on the evening of the 9th and the morning of the 10th.
And I actually fielded some complaints too, so.
Yeah.
But the only complaints I heard, not from teachers, from parents,
Yeah.
were from parents who weren't gonna be there anyway. They said things like, I traveled for Thanksgiving. Well, then you weren't coming, your kid wasn't coming to a half day of school either, right? I mean, so you just invalidated your own argument. I'm fine with this, though. So, I just asked about the attendance because I don't want us to get in that
No.
spot.
The 25th would be an early release day, traditionally.
Well,
Yeah.
last year, it was right before Thanksgiving, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The day before.
And I thought there was an argument against having it this early last year.
No,
There
there
was
was
from
an
us.
argument against,
Too late.
it was too late this year, having it before Christmas, before
Says
Thanksgiving.
report cards.
Yeah, it was probably 3 weeks too late. So it's traditionally either the week of the 9th or 10th, and it kind of, it's nice to fall within that holiday period at some point, the one day. So this seemed to work out okay.
I guess I was thinking, why didn't we do it this time last year?
We have,
It was,
this is,
it was because of what this week looked like last year, because the holiday
was on
last
a
year was on
Monday.
a Tuesday.
A
So
Tuesday.
the kids were gonna come Monday, take Tuesday off, come Wednesday and take Thursday off, and we said, that's not, no one will show up, it'll be
so having it on
Last week.
Wednesday will be
Okay,
Monday,
that's-
Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday,
I
Friday.
didn't know what the distinction was.
Yeah.
So you said morning of the 10th, did you say that?
Right, so it would be, parent-teacher conferences would be the night of Monday night and Tuesday morning.
And what time would they end Tuesday morning?
So Tuesday morning, they go till noontime.
Okay.
November, so we do an early release day the day before Thanksgiving. Christmas holiday, because of the calendar, gets shorter, we're into the getting shorter and shorter space. One of the, which is not on here, one of the union input was that they would like to have an early release day on December 23rd.
I think so.
So that would be up to the board. I'm not opposed to it. It's not something we've done before, but it was a request of them that I did not add on here.
I think it's a good idea. I don't know what you guys think, but, because, little kids at least, and even some of the older ones will come that day because it's a party. And it's their last chance to give out gifts to their friends and, but.
January, obviously, so we would come back on the 4th. January, let's see, 18th is Martin Luther King Day. January 29th would be a teacher workshop day. That would be an all-day workshop. And then we scheduled February 10th as an early release to follow up with whatever we were doing at the teacher workshop day on the 29th. March 9th is an early release day, again, another opportunity to do professional development. And that would be an opportunity for the buildings to review their school goals at that point. Where did we land on the school goal? What can we do differently, and start to think about their goal for next year. You have your traditional February and April vacations. April 6th, we have as a teacher workshop day. So the union has asked us to review parent-teacher conferences in April and whether we really should have them or not. So I talked to Deidre about that, and we agreed that we would keep it on as a teacher workshop day with a conversation. I think it's a longer conversation now with staff and principals about whether we should have spring parent-teacher conferences or not. If we decide not to, that would just become a teacher workshop day. Last day of school would be an early release on June 17th with this calendar.
I don't remember. So we have 3 teacher workshop days in here. How many did we have last year? I know one of them was parent-teacher.
It's the same,
Okay.
it's the same exact number. I think we get 6 altogether, 5 or 6.
So there would be just the one time for parent-teacher conferences then?
So right now, there's 2 still. The
Yes.
April one, I told them, principals and I would have a conversation with staff, and we'd make some determination of what to keep them or not. But I didn't want the teachers to make that decision, and that would be
You know,
a
it's one of those-
conversation we need to have.
It's one of those, just my input, like, you like the fall one if you have older kids, because you want to know how they're doing in their new school.
Yeah.
You don't see them, you don't see the parents. And you like to have the spring one if you have elementary kids, to know how well
Where they're
positioned
at.
they are for like the next year,
So I didn't want the calendar to drive whether we do them or not.
Yeah,
So we agreed they would stay on, that date would stay, and they would either be parent-teacher conferences or a PD day, depending on where the conversation around parent-teacher conferences went.
Labor Day, too. One of the reasons that we've always had the Friday before Labor Day off is because it's the second busiest traffic day of the year after the 4th of July weekend. There's an awful lot of traffic coming through that square and all over the roads where the buses travel and the kids walk. So just something to think about.
10th or 4th?
On the 4th, yeah, that's the Friday before Labor Day.
Have we had them off before?
Yeah, we've always had that Friday off. When they started going before Labor Day, it was kind of a concession, because I had brought this up, and it is a terribly busy traffic day.
So, let's say,
A couple other things under other here. This is an article that was in the Union Leader on Sunday, and I just wanted to pass it around to give everybody a look at it. Have your, I think there's one for everybody on this.
Oh, okay.
Just to have you see that this gentleman, Paul Feely, whom I don't know, has obviously studied this from a statewide perspective and talked about the impact on the state for declining student populations. So it's FYI, it's information relative to the topic. And the other article that I came across that I thought was of interest was in the Business New Hampshire magazine in December this past month. And it's on both sides. It has to do with peering into the future, into the next 20 to 30 years. And it talks about, I'll just pass this out. It talks about what the aging population is going to look like and what the younger population is going to look like. And there are steep increases and steep declines in both. In this Union Leader article, I found it interesting to note once again that the state of New Hampshire is the lowest birth rate in the country.
and one of the longest lifespans.
That might be why.
Yeah. We're one of the top 10 to live in if you want to be old. If you want to get old. If you want to get old.
Get old.
Yeah.
Get old. We want bridge
I'm
or
not
later.
convinced anybody who's old lives in New Hampshire. I think they winter in Florida and
That may have something to do with it. And then this, did anyone else get this postcard besides me? This is from Health Trust.
No.
Yes. But I think it ended up in recycling.
Well, this is something that board members may want to look at. It's an invitation for board members. So if you can keep this and consider the calendar, there are sessions regarding the Affordable Care Act requirements that are now in effect and impact both large and small employers. It says, join Health Trust for an informative session that will explain the latest development and action steps to ensure compliance. Health Trust's Eye on Healthcare Reform program is designed specifically for CEOs and board members to get information about the ACA requirements for this year and next year, the individual mandate, employer shared responsibility penalties, the employer IRS reporting guidelines, preparing for the Cadillac tax, and how medical consumerism can lower health care costs. It's a 2.5-hour program, and they're running it 5 or 6 times starting at the end of January through the middle of April in various locations. And I was planning on attending April 2nd in Plymouth. But I thought I should share that with you in case anyone else would like to as well. Did we not say as part of the NADA agreement that we're going to establish
We're
our
committed,
neighborhood
yeah,
partner?
yeah.
Yeah, so this would be really important, I think, for someone or several of us to go, because this is going to have major impact.
So actually, we should invite Nada to go as well.
I don't know that it's for participants, it says for board members, but be that as it may, one of the reasons that I think we should go is the guest group was the School Board of the Year, which was the Berlin School Board that presented in the morning. And I found that very interesting as well. And they said that they have already spent an additional $500,000 due to increases in ACA. And I was surprised to hear that. I didn't quite understand why, but they are I consider them to be what I would call a cohort district, not formally, but size-wise, they have 1,240 students. They have 254 employees, 4 buildings. They have a 32% special ed population, which is more than double the state average. And they have 100-year-old buildings. They do most of their work in-house. They seldom farm it out or outsource it for any maintenance. They hire people specifically with skills, full-time electrician, plumber, other expertise like that. And she said, I'm not sure, I didn't validate this, but she said that Berlin currently has the highest property taxes in the state.
Probably because of contracts.
And
There's nothing there anymore.
They have low property values, so they would have high taxes.
And they do their educational budget on $17.2 million. How can they do that?
I think Mike would like to say something about.
I wanted to just jump in with the health trust. I know you kind of switched topics, but I was just gonna say, if you have enough interest, we have been discussing with them plans that work within the guidelines, and they would be happy to send someone up here to do a seminar, so we don't have like, 40 people going down there, and they could actually begin the dialogue on health plans that are appropriate for it and how they can benefit, even though they look much different. So they would be
That's a
happy
good
to do
idea.
that.
Yeah, that was our ultimate goal of that committee,
Yeah.
was to have health trust come up, because part of it is, we can all understand it, it's getting the teachers to understand that a different health plan doesn't have to be a bad thing. That change is okay, sometimes it can be to your benefit financially to change health plans.
And they'll explain a lot
Yeah.
in conjunction with that too, customized to us versus in kind of a seminar.
Yeah, this is just generally educational for those who may want to.
We should get that committee together.
Yeah, I think we said there was a
I think we
date in
said
there.
February.
I
The
have
one
to look at it.
thing-
Of course, the contract won't be approved by
Right.
then, but I think it's good to meet anyway, because I think we
Yeah.
need to do that, so.
I think we had said after the new year.
The one
Other
thing
than
that
my-
I did want to share with you about Berlin as well, and Ruby mentioned this to me too, that's very true. They're just a single geography, and while it's a fairly large city, I don't think they have the transportation budget that we do, for example. But even if you added $1 million just to neutralize that, they're still $2 million lower than we are, and they have a population of 9,000 people, and they've lost 110 kids the last 3 years. So about
How many students do they have?
1,240 now. They have 4 buildings, which is, again, to me, indicative of why their budget is so much lower than ours.
And I said they're like Franklin, so not, single community,
Yeah.
industrial town.
Their test scores are at state average. They sent 2 kids to the Ivy League last year. They do not have a curriculum coordinator. Anyway, it's always a very informative session. I encourage anybody to go to these things whenever there's an opportunity, school board associations, because you always learn something new. Thank you for your time.
And Jeff, you want to?
There will be a policy committee meeting at the SAU office January 22nd, which is a Thursday at 6:30 PM. And if you could add school board email policy to the agenda.
Do we have one?
Well, we're gonna deal with
Oh,
that.
okay, I didn't know. I didn't know if you were revising something or.
January 22nd.
Oh, yeah, what we discussed,
Yes.
correct? Yes, okay, all right.
So do.
All right, anything else?
Actually, I'll expand on that, but the other members of the
Sure.
board who might be interested. Currently, people either email one member of the board and expect a response on behalf of the board, or they email every member of the board and expect a response. And that is not one individual can't speak for the board. And by emailing every member of the board, it becomes
Public.
a public issue and
Public session.
it's illegal.
Right, and so when Jeff and I talked about it, I said, we have to start treating emails just like a letter received, which is, it goes into the packet so that everybody can read it ahead of time, not just us, but everybody, and then it gets discussed at a public meeting, just like any other form of correspondence. Plus, there are people you know who are sending us all the same email, but we don't know the other people are getting the exact same email. So we don't want them getting 7 responses. So we just want to tighten that up a little bit so that it's treated like every other form of written communication.
But with respect to a little more precision, correcting a comment, Jeff, the school board chair can and does speak on behalf of the board. And when correspondence like that comes in, I used to just acknowledge it, just so that the person understood that it was received, and then said something like, we won't be brought up at a meeting.
And that's part of what we talked about too, is that we have to come up with a standard response, because we really do have people who are like, you didn't answer my email.
Yeah, you'll hear someone
But-
stand up
but-
in public
but
comment and
we-
say it.
But we don't answer, acknowledging and answering are 2 different things, so.
But sometimes this is funny because out of respect for Heather's request, when I make my comments on the Hill thing, I have to rely on my experience as chair as to why I'm going to speak on that. But I will do so in the public forum, not as a board member. But it's funny that when you get an inquiry from someone, there are times that you do need to respond to it very quickly and with a reasonable answer.
So what we're looking at is, we need to have a policy in place that says, this is how it's handled. If this happens, this is what we do. So that it's uniform and every time
Right.
there's, a
Same
regular response.
right.
And that there is perhaps a board-wide single email address that's the official address of the board.
So that if you want to write to all of us at the same time, that's how you do it.
Right, and it becomes an official board thing. And people will it'll be written out that if you email an individual board member, then you are soliciting that individual board member's opinion. And that individual board member doesn't speak on behalf of the board. And so that it's very clear that people who send the email, that there's a policy that details what they can expect and how things will be handled every time. So that we don't have somebody say, either feel that we've neglected them, or stand up in a public meeting and accuse us of not caring.
Yeah, that I fully concur, I agree. I wouldn't want to, what's the term, bridle the board chair with the inability to respond in a timely manner
No,
if
that-
it's outside of policy.
That really wasn't the intent. The intent is just to treat it like other correspondence when there's something and sometimes it's not something you can answer until you've had a discussion anyway, because of the nature of it, so we want to sort of identify those things. Mimi?
I was just gonna say, I did that recently, as you know, emailed everyone, and it went through the process. But to me, it would make sense for you guys to have a board email for people to email you, not your personal email, because that's really blurry about whether you're being emailed as a board member or as a public citizen.
There is no distinction for us, though, where we can't separate and say, oh, you sent this only to me, no, you didn't, you sent it to me because I'm in the role. That's why it was
Right,
that
but I
topic.
understand what Mimi's
Yeah, I
saying.
do know.
Yeah.
So there is an address, and it's what we talked about.
Yeah.
If you want it to go to the board as an official email,
Right.
it should have a board address, there
Right.
should be a specific
Heck,
address.
that would be easy for us to use too, when we have to send stuff to the whole board. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah,
It
it
begs the
blurs
question
the
though,
line
is to-
between public and,
Yeah, but it begs the question though, should I also have a school board phone number?
You do.
I think there was a time that you had a box, but nobody checked it.
Well, and that's
I don't
the
think it
problem.
exists
Now with
anymore.
email, it's a lot easier to just forward the email.
But my emails
from
never
the-
got forwarded.
That's up to
Yeah.
you
No, no.
individually. You have to forward your
supposed to be
emails
set
to
up
your
in a
personal address if that's what you use. I mean, these are just
Yeah.
logistical things
Yeah.
that technology brings upon us when we
Right.
take advantage of it, and they're completely legitimate
I know.
concerns.
When we started, we each had an individual email
Right.
address, and probably still have it that we can use, but it was a lot of work.
It is.
Extra work, because there was an awful lot of spam that went with it
Yeah.
at the beginning.
And that's,
And I didn't have time enough
yeah,
to sort everything every
And-
single time, and sometimes I didn't know what was spam and what was not.
and like the federal requirements that place upon us as educators, the educators in the without expanding the minutes in the school day, this list of additional things that you have to cover, all in the same amount of time, that's also becoming true of the school board.
Mhm.
There are way too many administrative things to deal with.
And they did set it up so
And-
that it was supposed to forward, so I don't know.
Yeah, mine never did, like, I know that I'm gonna get the name wrong, but the Health and Wellness Committee, I know that they did a bunch of work and sent it to me, but I never knew they sent it to me until 6 months later. And it wasn't sent to my email,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't forwarded, and then the chair left, and so I never did get it.
That's one of the reasons at the beginning of the year, when you fill out that form, it says, how would you like your email to be
Right.
processed? You
Right.
have to be diligent about it,
Well-
because it becomes troublesome.
It was one of those things that was supposed to happen, and since I was getting other email that were board-related, I assumed it was happening. All right, do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Sue moves, is there a second?
Second.
Second, and we are done at 9.